Uh, Before we get started, I wanted to tell you about two upcoming Tri-Counties events. Later this month, on March 24th, we have our first legal panel of 2021. We have some great panelists, our Tri-Counties Counsel John Giardinelli, Jeff Smetana, who is the CRMLS Director of Compliance, Carlo H. Bonke is a special investigator and deputy commissioner with the DRE, and James Denis, who is the assistant chief counsel for the DRE Los Angeles office. This is going to be a great opportunity, and I know that you'll have questions. Please come and ask those of the experts. You don't want to miss this opportunity. Next up, after that is the Tri-Counties General Membership Meeting. Our keynote speaker there is Lee Brown from North Carolina. She's a realtor and a motivational speaker, and she is really dynamic. Her presentation is entitled "A New Real Estate Year, Fresh, Focused, Forward." So she's a dynamic speaker, and she doesn't, and you don't want to miss her either. Oscar Wee is from CAR, and he'll provide an economic forecast. And we will finish up with a legal update from, again, our own counsel, John Giardinelli, and a legislative update from our legislative dynamic duo, Tim Shaw and Christine Schachter. These events are free, and you can register for them on the Tri-Counties website. Again, it's at tricorealtors.com. So our first presenter today is Ryan Wong. Ryan is a managing partner of Thong, Yu, Wong, and Lee, LLP. I hope I said that right. Mm-hmm. Ryan has over 20 years experience and provides tax planning. He does audit representations, estate planning, asset protection, international tax, and consultations for high net worth individuals. Prior to joining the firm, Ryan worked for Ernst & Young and started his career as a field auditor for the IRS. Ryan specializes in real estate, high technology, manufacturing, distributions, and service forms. Let's welcome Ryan Wong. Glad to have you, Ryan. Thank you, and take it away.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. First of all, I just wanted to thank everybody for setting aside. I know I'm allotted about 30 minutes or so. There's a big topic that I wanted to cover, but I know today's topic is more on international investments coming in. If we have time at the end, I do want to have a quick shout out on not just 121 exclusion on your main house, not just 1031, but there's that new qualified opportunity zone. Again, I do want to touch on that if we have time at the end. So for now, my comments on real estate, I tell all my clients, real estate is one of the best tax investment vehicle there is in the US, okay? Again, I'm not talking about rate of return, just tax vehicle is one of the best in the US. While you own the real estate, everything is tax deductible, right? Everything relating to it, whether it's management fees or property tax or insurance or repairs. So again, while we own it, everything is deductible. At the time you sell it, if you don't do any planning, you have to pay capital gains tax. Now, of course, what I had alluded to earlier, there are many exceptions. Aside from choosing to voluntarily pay income tax or capital gains tax, if you are eligible, you can do a 1031 tax-free exchange. We can dive into the details later. Or you can do a qualified opportunity zone benefit investment. Or for a foreigner, again, the US, the IRS does not discriminate. We tax everybody the exact same way, the exact same tax rate. So US person or not, okay? So maybe I need to define what is a US person first. Again, today's comments are strictly from a tax point of view. A US person comprised of three categories. So a US citizen, a green card holder, or the third category is what we call substantial presence test. if you're in the US for too many days, meaning over 183 days in a year, you are a US taxpayer, regardless of your residency status. Whether you're illegal or not, it doesn't matter. If you're in the US too many days, you are taxed just like a US person, meaning worldwide income. Okay. So again, those are the three categories of US person. If you're not one of these three, then you're a non-US person. For the rest of the presentation today, I'll address that as a foreigner. Now, when a foreigner wants to invest in real estate in the US, my first topic that would come to mind is what titling? How should you invest? Meaning, should you use your individual name or should you use a business entity? Okay. Laura, if I can share screen, am I on? Okay, I'm there first. Thank you. Okay, so this is my typical, how should I organize, whether it's a business or buying real estate? Okay, just a crash course first. I'm just gonna be talking about C Corp, S Corp, and LLCs quickly. Foreigner basically can be their social security number. Could you guys see my mouse moving here on top of the sole proprietor? Okay, so a foreigner cannot choose the S Corp, but they can be a social security number as a sole proprietor, rental activity, as a C corporation, or as an LLC member. Okay, I'll start off with just simply using their own name as an individual. Obviously, there's no social security tax because those are not earned income, but the income tax is important. Federal is 0 to 37%. This is income tax or short-term capital gains. The more you make, the more they take. So again, we have a progressive taxing system, 0 to 37. California, we live in the state that we're #1 in the country. #1, we have the highest income tax rate of any of the 50 states, 13.3%. Again, 0 through 13, depending on your own tax rate. Now, I do want to differentiate this between capital gains, though. Capital gains is what we call long-term capital gains. If you hold any asset for more than 12 months and you sell that, that is still your ordinary income if it's short-term. Now, if it's long-term, it becomes capital gains. Capital gains max it out at 20%. So the IRS will never take more than 20% of long-term capital gains. However, there is that Obama excise tax, we call it, of another 3.8. If you make more than 250,000 of these type of unearned income or investment income, let's say, there is an additional 3.8. So technically speaking, the maximum long-term capital gains rate can be 23.8% for federal. On top of that, California is another 13.3. So again, we're looking at 28 plus 13, right? That's still about 40%. Sorry, did I say 20? I meant 23.8 plus 13, okay? Now, that's if you are taking title as an individual. I do want to share a C corporation. Again, 99 out of 100 times, I would never suggest a C corporation to own real estate. It's a tax malpractice. Okay. However, for my foreigners, perhaps this is the entity of choice for my foreigners. Okay. Let me explain why. From a foreigner standpoint, there are two income that is tax-free to them. Now remember, the IRS, I'm a former IRS auditor. We have a saying that we tax everything under the sun. Okay, unless there's an exception. If not, it is taxable. Now, as a foreigner, there are two income that are tax-free to them. The first one is bank interest income. If I park my money in a savings account at Bank of America, that 0.5% that I get back, although it's not a lot, I still got to pay tax on that. Taxable income to me, a US person, for interest income from a financial institution. Did you know that it's tax-free for a foreigner? They can park $1 million in B of A CD. The interest income they get is income tax-free. Any foreigner. That's the first income. The second income that is taxable, that is tax-free to them, is capital gains, not from real estate, because real estate is another exception that says we're still going to tax you. However, if they were to open up a stock brokerage account, trade Google stock or Apple stock for a gain, tax-free as well. Wow, these are the two types of income that attracts all foreign investors, right? So in the US, we welcome investment, but we never talked about what happens when you leave our country, okay? Just watch out, there are estate tax as well. So if a foreigner opens up a brokerage account and they have $1 million of Apple stock stuck in there when they pass away, there is estate tax on that. Okay, so if they have more than 60,000, everything else, they're going to lose 40% to our death tax here. So watch out for that. Now, how does this bridge into real estate? If my foreign investor were to take title to the real estate as a C corporation, when we find a buyer to buy the underlying real estate, we can do a deemed dissolution of the C corporation. Meaning, let's say I'm the C corporation. I'll say, hey, foreign shareholder, give me back all the common stock you own of the corporation. In return, I'll give you all the cash from the real estate sales proceeds back to you. What just happened? That foreign investor or shareholder just sold his or her stock in the C corporation. Did we not say that's one of the two income that is income tax free to them? Wow. Watch out for that. There is so we said the smart guys know all the rules, but the wise guy knows all the exceptions, okay? In my simple example, a C Corp selling real estate, one would think is income tax free, the whole transaction to the foreign investor. But watch out, because there's the FIRPTA, right? The Foreign Investment in Property Tax Act. Watch out for that, because that says if a company, a corporation, has more than 50% of its assets in real estate, then you need to do other tests before we can decide whether that's tax-free or not. Okay, so watch out for that. How we can easily solve that problem is maybe after the sale, you can always inject other asset, inject stock portfolio, inject everything else that brings real estate back down to the 50% threshold. Perhaps it can be tax-free. Again, this is just one of the planning mechanisms to use a C corporation. Now I'm going to skip to an LLC. That's the entity of choice for non-foreign investor of real estate, right? LLC, I know it stands for limited liability company, but us CPAs, we refer to LLC as lawyers' likely choice. The attorneys always pick these first, the LLC, because relaxed form of corporate formality or lack thereof, right? There's no annual minutes you need to deal with. But an LLC is very flexible. We like an LLC too. LLC for real estate, I'll go over the withholding rules later, but maybe before I get there, I wanted to share an LLC is a partnership form of taxation. The LLC does not pay any income tax to the IRS. It's a pass-through. So who are the LLC members? Whoever they are, let's say I'm the LLC and Laura and Brian are the two LLC members. So if I'm the LLC, I made $1 million profit this year, I will report to the IRS on a Form 1065, but I don't pay any income tax to the IRS. However, let's say Laura is a 40% owner, she'll get 40% K1 of that $1 million profit. Brian will get a 60% K1, meaning 600,000. They too, the members of the LLC, will go pay tax at their own level. Okay. Now, LLCs are very common for real estate because it's flexible. Let's say if I have an LLC today that I set up to buy acquisition A. Then after closing, maybe a year later, I said, hey, I also have existing property B and C that for asset protection purposes, I wanted to contribute into the same LLC. That is allowed. That's also income tax free event, okay? It's so flexible that before I sell A, B, or C, I can say, oh, I'm going to drop it out of the LLC now. Take property B, distribute it back to the owners. That is also an income tax-free event. So notice it's very flexible from income tax standpoint from an LLC because it is a partnership flow-through taxation regime. Okay. Now, what is good with the LLC from us, or I guess from any investor, US or foreign? The LLC is good that I'm going to change my example. Myself, Laura, and Brian are the three owners of the LLC. Should we sell property A, we're going to pay a tax because there will be a gain, right? Now, what if we wanted to do one of those exception, a 1031 exchange, let's say? The three of us, LLC, will need to go together. Meaning the LLC is the seller for a 1031 replacement property. The LLC must be the buyer. Okay, so sellers the LLC, buyers the LLC, you complete the exchange. However, what if I either don't get along with Laura or Brian anymore, or I need the cash? They can continue on, but I need the cash. Remember we said the drop? LLC can drop out property A first. So it goes 1/3 to Ryan, 1/3 to Laura, 1/3 to Brian as tenancy in common. Then Laura and Brian can do a 1031 through their escrow instruction. I can cash out. But I got to pay a tax because I'm cashing out, right? But that's my own choice. Now, 1031 applies to foreigner. They can do it too. Remember earlier I said we don't discriminate. Any tax benefit or tax liability or tax calculation is all exactly the same, foreign or domestic investor. Okay, so the LLC, for my foreign investor, 90% of the time, we would set up a Delaware LLC because they may not be buying in California, right? Why subject ourselves to California taxation if the property ends up in Nevada, let's say. So we'll set up a Delaware LLC. Maybe before the sale, we may prepare what we call a check the box election. Say, hey, IRS, it's an LLC, but for tax purposes, I want to go to the corporation tax laws. That's called check the box election. Such a thing exists. Imagine changing it to a C Corp before my foreign investor sell that underlying real estate that perhaps can be excluded as selling capital gains of a stock. Okay, again, watch out for the FIRPTA rules. After the presentation, if anybody wants to know more about the FIRPTA, feel free to give me a holler and I can send some email on that. Again, that's beyond the scope of my discussion today. So choice of entities is one of my topics for foreign investor. There is a second one. Oh, I need to go over the tax withholdings first. That's probably most common. When a foreign investor sells real estate for federal purposes, the IRS says, wait a minute, escrow, when they sell their money, we don't want them to skip the country and we can't find them again, right? So there's a concept of what we call backup withholding. Backup withholdings, if you were to pay a foreigner for independent services, you're supposed to withhold 30%. So again, if I pay somebody for consulting, before I send 100,000 of consulting expense, the IRS says, hey, Ryan, you were supposed to get a W-9 so you can fill out a 1099 to that foreigner. But that person would not have a social security number or ID number for me to fill out. Therefore, the IRS says, if that's the case, Ryan, before you pay the 100,000, you withhold 30%. Send the IRS 30%, send the payee 70%. Okay, that's a normal transaction. For real estate, they drop the 30% down to 10%. But we don't know what your gain is. So therefore, we're instructing the escrow company to withhold 10% of your selling price. That's a general rule. Okay. Of course, if you fill out your escrow instruction, you can say, wait, I qualify for 121 exclusion, or I'm doing a 1031, or my gain is not that much. Here's my lower amount. All these are exceptions to that 10% withholding general rule for federal. California has a 3.33% withholding. So the Fed's going to take 10, California is going to take 3.33. Again, maybe you had lost money, but they don't care. They're taking it off the top, 10 and 3.33. Now, for planning purposes, how can I avoid all these withholding? Perhaps before you help your client, your foreign client sell, we should revisit. Hey, foreign client, should we drop it to an entity? Should we put the real estate into an LLC, or should we put it into a C Corp before we sell? Under that arrangement, we just escape all withholdings. Federal's not going to take the 10 because now it's a US company. California, if it's a corp, they won't take the 3.33. At least we can deal with the cash flow up front, that the foreign investor can have the cash flow earlier. Now, what happens if they're forced to withhold the 10 and the 3.33? Foreign investor, let's say they bought for 900,000, they sold for $1 million. The gain is only 100,000, right? Capital gains tax maybe is only 20,000. But from the million, the IRS already withheld 100,000. Notice they withheld too much. The IRS says, if you don't file a return, we don't know how to give you back the refund, but thank you very much. If you don't file a return, we're not going to go chase you down the rest of the world, right? Now, you don't get your refund back till you file your return for an investor when the tax season opens up next year, okay? So that's a little late. Now, for my foreign investor client, when they come to the US to buy that real estate, perhaps you should already suggest that they sign up for an I-10, an individual taxpayer identification number, an I-10. We use a Form W-7 for that. So getting this I-10 helps with the exit strategy later. When escrow company sends in that withholding, if there's no ID number, how the heck is the IRS gonna track that down later? So again, I would provide some value-added service and suggest they get an I-10 while they're in the US. My office and a few CPA practices may be what we call IRS acceptance agent, I-10 acceptance agent, meaning in order to get an I-10, the IRS mandates your foreign investors to send in their original passport. Nobody's going to send in the original. What if we don't get it back, right? So just show it to an I-10 acceptance agent is as good as if you send it to the IRS and the IRS saw it with their own eyes. That's all. I think I have 3-4 minutes left, so I'm going to talk about my last topic on foreign investment. Debt versus equity. Okay, I live in Arcadia. My neighbors next to me I know they sold it 3 years ago for $3.5 million. The one across the street, diagonal from me, they sold it for $4.5 million. I've never met my neighbor. Okay, no one's there. They don't live there. So I have a lot of clients like that too. We're in San Gabriel Valley. I'm right in Rosemead, 10 miles east of downtown LA. I have 50 associates that can speak Chinese. So we deal with a lot of foreign China investor coming in. My first question to them is, I know you can pay in full. You're about to buy a $4 million property. I know you can pay in full, but I don't suggest it. Why don't you just pay 50% down? The rest, we get a loan, okay? Getting a loan allows you to have mortgage interest, which cost of money is really low right now. So your realtor, your loan broker can help you with that low interest rate loan. It is a tax break by allowing this deduction. Now, what if they say, no, I don't want to borrow from a US bank? There's nothing wrong with borrowing the other 50% from a foreign lender. So again, if you're sending in the $4 million to buy the real estate, 2 can come in as your own money for an investor. The other 2, perhaps it still came from your Hong Kong bank account, but we still can take the position that you got the $2 million from a individual loan. Somebody dropped it into your foreign account before you brought it here. So you brought all $4 million here, but $2 million is your money. The other 2 is a loan, okay, a debt. So again, it's debt versus equity. How do we pick that? Why this topic is important? A debt, we mentioned before, paying interest is a tax deduction. And paying interest, you can take it periodically, but the principal, we can pay that any time. I can pay back 100,000. I can pay back $1 million. I can pay back the full $2 million anytime. No tax withholding. It's not income, right? When you get a loan, it's not a tax triggering event. When you pay a loan, it's not a tax triggering event. Okay, that's why debt versus equity is very important. just to kick this presentation up a notch, write down this word, portfolio loan. If we can help structure this $2 million loan as a portfolio loan, when they get the interest income back from this portfolio loan, it's as if they got it from a financial institution. And we said earlier, this interest income to the recipient will be income tax free. While the one paying it, we still get an interest deduction, as if I paid Bank of America or I paid the Hong Kong lender. It's the same, we get a deduction. Except we avoided the tax withholdings. We just made the interest income to the foreign lender exempt from US tax purposes. I think I'm exactly at 30 minutes, Laura, so I'll pause here. Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the audience? If you do, put it into the chat, and Laura will make those available for Ryan.
We don't have any questions as of yet. So if you have any last minute thoughts you want to add, Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, I did want to talk about the qualified opportunity zone. Okay. So exit strategies for real estate investments. For 1031, I mean, I work with a group, Peak 1031 Exchange are wonderful. Steven Rosansky is also a tax attorney himself. So whether the 1031 is doable or not, they will make sure they'll check that off before the transaction goes further. That's 1031. Of course, if it's your own primary residence, we know you have the 121 exclusion. Now, there is installment sale that we can also plan around for minimizing capital gains on selling of real estate. And then the last one that I wanted to talk about today is that qualified opportunity zone. Okay. So at a very basic primary level only, President Trump had introduced this in his 2017 Tax Act. This became available 1/1/18. Okay. If you Google QOZ, Qualified Opportunity Zone. So this applies to any gain, not just real estate gain anymore. So as a US person, if we sell Apple stock for a $250,000 gain, I can say, I don't want to pay tax, IRS. I'm going to take this money within 180 days, reinvest it into a qualified opportunity zone investments. That's my old gain, right? Again, just the gain amount, unlike a 1031 where you need to invest the proceeds. Now I'm just investing the gain amount. The old gain, my 250,000 gain, this is the old gain. At year 2026, then I'll pay my tax due on this gain. So again, I get to defer it until December 2026. I may get 10% off, I may get 15% off, depending if I meet other criteria. This is the old gain. This is not what I like about it. What I like about it is the new gain. This 250,000 that I had reinvested in a qualified opportunity zone. Let's say, again, my office is in Rosemead. The next city over, 3 miles over is El Monte. El Monte is in the zone. Part of El Monte is in the zone. If I had a gain that I bought a piece of land in El Monte and I construct a strip center, that qualifies as my QOZ replacement property. I have to hold that shopping center for 10 years. After 10 years of holding that new investment, this is the new gain now, my gain is entirely tax-free. Again, I don't need to do a 1031 anymore. It's completely tax-free. So the old gain, I get to defer the tax until year 2026. The new gain, if I hold it for 10 years, is completely tax-free. Qualified opportunity zones are designated by the individual city. There are more than 8,000 zones in the US as of today. It's also politically driven. Our SoFi Stadium, they're in the zone. Right across the street is not in the zone. Okay, so just something to think about. If you fail your 1031 within 180 days, but your property was inside the LLC, you have until the end of that year and another 180 days. Wow. So think about that. You potentially can have a year and a half of replacement time to go find a QOZ. Okay. So that I think that's, some people think that may be better than 1031. So. exciting for the real estate industry. After all, Trump is real estate guy as well. So
So we do have a question for you, Ryan.
yes.
Can a foreigner hold real estate in a land trust? And how is that tax treated?
Okay. So I'm going to comment to try to clarify the land trust first. Okay. I'm not an attorney, but I see lots of land trusts coming through our office that we do tax returns for. So land trusts, revocable versus irrevocable, right? So revocable, it was still deemed as if the owner is whoever the beneficiary is, whoever sets it up, whoever the grantor is. Okay, the grantor settlor is the owner of the revocable. The irrevocable, we tax a trust like a fiduciary. Instead of a Form 1040, the IRS used a Form 1041. Okay, almost the same, except you will hit that 37% marginal tax bracket very high. At about 10,000 of income, you're up there already, as opposed to an individual reaching 500,000 before you get up at the highest rate. So yes, we do accept land trust. It can be irrevocable. It can be owned by foreigners. The beneficiary can be US or foreigner. It doesn't matter. We don't discriminate because we're taxing it here as you go. So yes, a foreigner can own real estate via land trust. Just watch out for, is it consider a domestic trust versus a foreign trust, type. But yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. I think I had a question about your slides, but you're going to send me your slides later.
I sent it last night, Laura. You already have
You
it.
did? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then what I'll do is I'll put them in the chat.
Okay.
And I think that is it that I have.
Okay.
Great. Hey, Ryan, I just want to thank you for all that information. I mean, seriously, I appreciate that we brought you on, particularly that in the capacity or the role that you have, the knowledge that you've shared. I think that with the fact of Prop 19 and how it's affected here, you didn't even touch on that. So I do want to encourage each and every one of our listeners who is doing this. First of all, as practitioners, I find a lot of realtors, they're just concerned about doing the transaction. One of the first things I heard you say that I think is so crucial, get your attorney and your tax professional involved early, because that's going to be crucial to your client for everything that Ryan was sharing. And I understand that there are ways based on the type of entity that you set up and so forth that could affect whether or not the property is reassessed in the future as well. Again, that's just a tidbit from Prop 19, but go to them for your professional advice. Okay, excellent. Next, and looking forward to this, Lisa Calarco. I hope I said your name right, Lisa. Great. She's a manager of global programs and outreach for National Association of Realtors engagement team. In this role, her primary focus is helping state and local associations around the US, including ours, establish and grow global councils to support members' global business development and the larger communities they serve. That would be you, and of course our consumers, our constituents out there. Lisa has been with NAR in various roles for 15 years and has spent the last 8 years with the global space. So Lisa, thank you so much for being here, taking time for us. We're looking forward to what you have to share for us and how we can benefit going forward. Thanks so much.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me, everybody. I'm happy to be in California, virtually at least. Not too bad here. Lately, we've had a good run of 60s and all the snow is gone, but still California's weather is always going to be superior. So I'm going to pretend I'm there for the day, and I'm going to go ahead and get started like Brian said, and thank you, Brian. I'm here to talk about NAR's global engagement. And so I'm Lisa Calarco, manager global programs. Don't need to go over that. What I do like to do when I start talking to anybody about the topic is just establish who we're talking about when we're talking about global clients, like set that scene for who we're speaking of, and that is foreign buyers living abroad, immigrants, First generation Americans, Americans buying abroad, clients with international connections, and investment buyers. That way we're all on the same page when we speak about global clients. It's not just that investor from overseas. It's a lot. It makes up a big pool of who you're dealing with on a daily basis in your business. So every year, NAR, if you're not familiar, we do a large international buyers report. And it comes out in the late summer. And this is the most recent one we have. Now, key thing to note on this most recent one is that it was in the field in March of 2020. So all this data we collected literally was right before all the shutdowns happened. So this is what the world looked like prior to the shutdowns as far as the international investment in the US residential real estate market. And so the report that's about to go out into the field in the next few weeks will equally be as unique because it's going to capture the exclusive March through March real estate market we had while everybody was in lockdown, and that'll paint quite an interesting picture, I am sure. But let's talk about 2020 and what we saw there. We had $74 billion of international buyers purchasing US residential real estate, which equated to roughly 154,000 properties across the United States. And 61% of those buyers were resident foreign buyers. There's two categories in the report. There's the resident foreign buyer and the non-resident foreign buyer. It's exactly what it sounds like. A resident foreign buyer is a resident of the United States, either on a permanent or long-term visa, purchasing property, and inversely on that is the non-resident foreign buyer, which typically are investment buyers. Perhaps as Ryan spoke about the residency requirements, a lot of them are Canadian members or clients to the north who can come here for a reduced amount of time and not have to deal with residency status, but still purchase a significant part of our residential real estate market. These were the top 5 states. Nothing too much has changed here. Florida is always tends to be number 1. And again, that's thanks to our Canadian snowbirds who head south for the winter. And then California at 15%. So you're number 2 right there. 15% of the foreign real estate purchased in 2020 was in California, and then Texas, New York, and New Jersey round out the top 5. Now this report is yours to access if you go to nar.realtor/research. It'll be under the international tab. 43 pages. If I took the time to go through the robustness of that report, we'd be here for days. So I'm giving you high level talking points. Feel free to go download and dig into that, especially because California being a number 2, there's a lot of data there on what's happening in the California market. For example, you can look at the top 5, and this is, I think, what's a key and important point is we say we had, $74 billion of foreign investment in residential real estate last year alone. That's not the same. And I think it's important to know, like, what happens one day if Brian gets relocated or decides he wants to give New York a try, or perhaps he wants to shake things up and move to Texas. And he's in the global space. He's like, oh, I've been a global practitioner for years. No big deal. I got it. I understand it. But when you're moving from perhaps a predominantly Asian or Asian Indian, Chinese type of buyer, you understand that culture. You understand how money moves between the two, and all that goes along with that. Now suddenly you're in Texas, where you're dealing with majority of that foreign investment coming from Latin America or Caribbean. So while we can blanket say we're getting, all this investment and, educating yourself is important, it's also very important to understand what is happening in it, not just your state, but in your local market alone, because that's going to tailor the way you approach learning and refining your business to serve those clients. And so just use this as an example. All of this data is in the report. Like I said, and we have our quote unquote other players. So we don't just look at the top 5. We really kind of dive into a lot, because this market is in every state. The global real estate market is in all 50 states across the US. We tend to give a lot of attention to the top 5, but there are a lot of other players in the game here as well. Now, if you flip that and say, okay, great, where are the investors coming from? This tends to say roughly the same, but there was a change in 2020. China, number 1, Canada, India, and Mexico. But number 5 for the first time ever was Colombia. They rose to the scene and our top 5 investors in 2020, and they took the spot from the UK. And so even at the national level, we also need to know where this investment is coming from so that we can tailor what we can provide to our members and our associations in order to help them with these market shares. So this is important and interesting information to keep in mind. And then you can see this follows the trend with where we said, California was getting a lot of the Chinese investment and the Asian Indian investment. So 35% coming from China, 17% coming from India. But you're in there too with Canada, 19% is coming to California. Like I said, you can see the 50% of that goes to Florida. They just love to winter down in Florida. And Mexico, of course, as well. That obviously makes sense. But you can see how each one differs. The only one California doesn't grab a market share of is Colombia. That pretty much stayed on the East Coast in 2020 with a little bit more going to Missouri, which makes sense. There's a lot of manufacturing and a lot of commercial opportunities in the Missouri region. I like to point this out. So you hear headlines every year when this report comes out, it gets a lot of worldwide news attention because it's showing global investment in the real estate markets. And you'll see the headline, oh, it fell. There was a decline. Oh, there was another decline in 2020. But really, if you look at this graph, we're back to where we used to be, let's say, prior to the pandemic. Again, this is all prior to the pandemic. And if I was a betting woman, and I'm not, but if I was, I would anticipate that perhaps this next report, which we'll see in the summer, will probably show an outlier on the low end. I think we all anticipate probably seeing a slowdown in the international investment in the U.S. throughout 2020 into 2021. But just like through 2016 to 2018, where we saw unprecedented numbers, especially in 2017, those are the outliers on the other side. And so while we're saying there's a decline, there was a decline from a crazy influx of foreign investment in the U.S. A lot of that attributed to the Chinese investors trying to move their money out of China before the restrictions came in on what they could move. There was a big run on U.S. residential real estate during that time period. And so you can see we're back to where we were, 66 in 2011, 82 in 2012. Now we're back to 78, 75. So we all love headlines. We all know what clickbait is. But I think as an investor or as a practitioner, you just have to, okay, what does that really mean? Looks like we're back to where it used to be, which is a significant amount, a significant share. 4% of the existing homes last year were purchased by foreign buyers, and that's pretty much the standard for what we're used to seeing. But we had a decline. So why did we have the decline? Again, you need to understand why we're seeing a decline. I think it comes as no surprise to anybody in the real estate space that the low inventory affected not only, of course, your domestic buyers, but those foreign buyers as well. There just wasn't the home they wanted in the price range they want available on the market, so their money couldn't go anywhere. There's a global slowdown, and that slowdown clearly continues through 2020 and 2021, but it started in about 2016 to 2019. As economic growth improves, spending capability does as well. And many countries saw a slowdown begin around 2016. And so that kind of pulled back some of that foreign investment that we were used to seeing. The US dollar, now this remark on strong clearly points back to 2019 to 2020. We're no longer in this position, but that explained what was happening as the dollar strengthens against foreign currencies. Home prices are more expensive when measured in a foreign buyer's currency, local currency. And so if you see the dollar weakening again, you may see an increase in buyers from those whose currency is weakening again, because you can buy more home, get more bang for your buck, if you will. So paying attention to that market will help you construct a smart business plan as well. And then lastly, the decline was really noted. This was kind of a new, not new, but we were starting to really see the impact that the tightening of immigration had caused on the real estate market, especially in 2019 and 2020. There were just 90,000 fewer persons obtaining legal permanent status. And so remember those resident foreign buyers, that's 90,000 fewer of those folks who are looking to obtain legal permanent status here in the US. That's 90,000 fewer potential home buyers. And that really is having an impact on the residential investment, including 2.2 million less non-immigrant visas issued, and the Chinese visas being halved to 1.1 million in 2019. And so as we watch the current administration's, stances and positions on immigration. We have to pay attention to what does that mean to our real estate market and, things like that, just so that we have an idea of what's happened, what could happen as we look towards, the perhaps, rebirth of the foreign investment in the United States and so on. So these were 4 just reasons, general reasons, nothing we really necessarily have control of, but explained the decline that we did see, that 5% decline that we did see in 2020. Real quick, other additional highlights. This just points out 314,600 was the median purchase price of a foreign buyer. Now this is median, across the country, but essentially it shows that it typically a foreign buyer purchases at a higher price point than a domestic buyer. So on average about $40,000 higher than your domestic purchase. 48% of those buyers purchased in a suburban area, and 50% of them purchased a property as a primary residence. Again, that ties back into that 61% being resident foreign buyers. These are folks who are permanent citizens of the United States or on long-term visas, and they are investing back into the communities. They're not necessarily in the big metros. They're not going to Chicago, New York, they're going to the exurbs. They're going a little bit farther out to establish homes and be part of the community and raise their families by purchasing primary residence in suburban areas. So, I'm not in LA. Great. They're not going to LA either. They're coming to the exurbs. They're going a little bit farther out. They're coming to the suburbs. They really want, they may be working in the, metro areas, but that's not necessarily where they're purchasing the property as well. So I like to do this little brain break. I'm going to keep this moving quickly, but I think this just gives us a little levity. I know, especially in California, you guys are used to seeing crazy high home prices, and you're like, why would somebody invest here? This is crazy. I can't even afford a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house for my family. Where are these people coming from? So I asked the question, where are home prices the most expensive? Does anybody want to take a stab at it? Throw something in the chat box real quick. You don't have to. If you're interested, go ahead and throw something in there and we'll see. All right, New York we got. San Francisco, not bad. New Jersey, okay. New York, all right, you guys are all picking on the East Coast a little bit there. Oh, Vancouver, all right, Laura coming in. All right, here is the spoiler alert. Home prices are the most expensive in Hong Kong Island. It costs about $28,570 per square meter. So 120 square meter residence in Hong Kong will cost you $3.4 million. 120 square meters, roughly around the area of around 1,300-ish square feet. Fanny could probably correct me on that with the great instructor she is. So when we compare that to the most expensive metro in the United States is in San Jose, of course, California, at $8,000 per square meter, roughly. So that same residence is going to cost the buyer $968,000 for the same size. So you can buy 3 properties in San Jose for the one you can get in Hong Kong. And so, and again, of course, the U.S. real estate market is still the most safe and secure real estate investment in the world. And so, can I get 3 safe, secure investments here, or should I get 1 over in Hong Kong? And so that is why we continue to see the influx of foreign purchases in the U.S. residential real estate market. Another survey that we have that you can access, which is really cool, the first time ever we did, and it just got released in January, was a survey that we sent to over 3,500 members of our bilateral partners, so non-U.S. members around the world. And so we asked them basically what we asked you in the U.S. survey. Where are your foreign buyers coming from? Where are they looking for property in your country? What is the price they're paying? Where are they getting their financing? What kind of property are they looking for? What are they doing with it? Are they renting that property? Is it their home? And then the prices there versus the prices in their home, in the buyer's home country. So I think it's a really cool, we got an interactive result. So if you go to nar.realtor/research, again, on the international tab, you can search. We have 14 different countries that had given us significant data that we could, compile. And so you can search like India, Spain, like see what's happening. So, perhaps you've got an investor here who's looking pardon me, who's looking to invest outside. And you can at least equip them with some of this information that says, well, here's what I know about the Spanish real estate market. Here's typically where you'll find property, you know, especially foreigners or expats purchasing in the country. Here's the prices you'll expect to see. Here's the kind of property that's most popular to purchase, et cetera, et cetera. It was a first time we did it, and it's a great survey to take a look at. So there's opportunities, right? What kind of opportunity can you see when you see the real estate market kind of slowing down a little bit? Number one, sellers. So those foreign buyers that came in who purchased maybe in 2016, 17, 18, when we were seeing that crazy purchases going crazy, maybe they're considering to cash out. Maybe now that maybe their investment has paid off, they're considering cashing out. Have you reached out to those sellers? You know, may not have the buyers anymore, but we certainly know we may have some sellers in the market, especially as home prices continue to skyrocket. So are you reaching out to your sellers? There's an opportunity there. Networking, I think it's very important. Obviously, it goes without saying in real estate, networking is important. I think it's a little bit more important on the international side as well. And one of the benefits we got, and I will say, like, one of the benefits we got in 2020 when we all got, you know, shoved indoors was the opportunity to do things like this. I can't be in California, but guess what? Today I am in California, and I'm connecting with you all. A lot of our global councils around the United States are doing events like this, and they're just saying, hey, you want to join? Facebook community, you know, just like, here, we're having an event. You want to join? Join, network yourself that way. It's really, I mean, if somebody's going to leave California to go to Nevada, you know, it doesn't, you know, your out migration, in addition to the international movement of property, you know, a lot of our councils host, you know, doing business in Spain and connecting with our, I keep picking on Spain, but connecting with our Spanish members or our Indian members and things like that. If you're working in those markets, where are the opportunities for you to network that, quite frankly, you're going to save money right now and you're going to save time. So now's the time to do that, now that we all had a little bit more time. I know it's all coming to an end, yay, vaccines, but you know, there's still some time left to do that. And I'm sure this will continue because I think a lot of people found a lot of value in it. But again, an opportunity. Education, same thing, less inventory, less buyers. Now's the time to make sure you have the knowledge and skills necessary to help the specialized needs of the clients. How are you going to stand out from your neighbor? How are you going to be a more educated agent to sell yourself? I mean, you do listing presentations, buyer presentations. You know what to put in there to sell your services to a buyer. So are you educating? Can you walk out there and say, you know, I'm a member of the Tri-Counties Global Committee. I've attended multiple education events as far as it relates to global business. I listened to Ryan tell me about the ins and outs of tax, and I know more about that. And perhaps I'm going to get my CIPS, which is, we'll talk about a little later, but like, that's the way you can elevate yourself. You've got to, you know, there's less people out there in the market, so you got to make yourself more attractive. And then I think the last thing that kind of goes without saying is the community involvement as an association as well as an agent. Again, that's 60% of your foreign buyers. They were recent immigrants who reside in the United States, either for work or as students or as, you know, green card holders. They're part of your community, and are you? So as you're in an association, are you connecting to those parts of your community that support new residents, new immigrants? Are you at a university that's having a welcome back night for the international students? And by at, I just mean like just there with your friendly faces and just being part of that kind of community, because they're having a large impact on the local economy. And so you should be connecting into that because you're probably the largest impact they're having on that community. So what do we have to help you at NAR? First of all, we have the global support. We have 109 partner associations in 74 countries around the world. So that equals about 7 million real estate professionals. We have 27 NAR Global Ambassadors. Those are NAR members who are appointed to oversee our relationships in those countries. We have 5 global coordinators, again, NAR members who see the larger regions. So like Western Europe, South America, there's 5 of them that oversee those global ambassadors. You guys here today, we have 100, you know, you're one of the over 130 global business councils across 28 states here in the United States. And part of that is the Ambassador Association program, again, of which Tri-Counties participates as the Ambassador Association to our Malaysian partners. So there's 47 of those existing relationships across the United States. These are all pieces that you can take advantage of to connect yourselves to. And plus we have over 5,000 international Realtor members. You can search all these, you can find these people, these contacts and all of that at nar.realtor/global/global-alliances. We also have a real estate practices around the world resource, and it's just general guidelines on real estate practices in countries around the world. So I have here a small screenshot of our partner in China. So this just is information provided by our cooperating association partners. Each of the partners was asked the same question, so it's not like Russian roulette. There's actual like structure to this. And this can help you. Perhaps you're working with a client from China, or you're referring a client over to another agent in China, and you want to arm your client with all the information. Like, here's the deal. The commission fees are different over in China. It doesn't work like that. There is no such thing as, or there's very little as exclusive representation. So here's how it could work. Just be prepared. You know, it's a different real estate market than we're used to here in the United States. Again, is there like, oh, I decided I came into money and I want to purchase a villa in France. Can I do that? Are there restrictions on property or land ownership? And you can use this resource to get some information to share with your clients. Last year, I launched a new series called the Platinum Perspective series, and that was I interviewed 11 state and local associations, and they shared with us how they created high achieving global groups within their association and how that benefited their members and their communities that they serve. And so these are podcasts, essentially. You can listen to them on that website, listen right there. So as a global committee, if you're like, oh, how do we push ourselves to the next level? What are other people doing? What's happening out there? You don't have to ask me. You don't have to listen to my voice go on and on. You can go ahead and listen directly to each of them. Typically had their staff member and their volunteer leader talking about all the different ways they interacted. They're only an hour long, so it's not very long. But if you're interested in more information on those episodes, you can go there. 2 weeks ago, we launched the second season, and we discussed just in general, what is global? What does NAR have? So if you really want to deeper dive into the parts of global that we have and why we have them, you can go ahead and listen to episode 1 from this season as well. Lastly, I'm just going to really quickly talk about, because I believe Fanny will be taking it from here, on the Certified International Property Specialist, which is NAR's only international designation. So when I was talking about education earlier and like how to make yourself stand out amongst the crowd, the Certified International Property Specialist is a network in over 40 countries that represents about 4,000 designees. You can learn more about it by going to nar.realtor/CIPS, but it's a quick snapshot of it is it's a series of 5 one-day courses, and then you submit an application demonstrating your international business experience. You have up to 3 years to submit that after completing your coursework. And then with all the designations, of course, there are annual dues, and the annual dues for the CIPS is $220 per year. I believe there's some early bird discount on that if you pay them early every year, but in general, it's $220 a year. That is what I have for you today. So there's my contact information. I gave my slides to Laura to share. So if you guys, thank you again for letting me come to California today, for letting me mentally escape to California. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, we can open it up for questions for Lisa, and I did put her slides in the chat if anybody wants to have them.
Thank you, Laura.
Sure. And I don't see any questions. So thank you, Lisa.
Lisa, that was fantastic. Actually, I do appreciate this. I mean, for many of you, you don't get to see a lot of the gatherings that we have at the CAR or NAR events. And this is a chance for us to connect. If you're not, I think there's also some expos and so forth that people can take part in, whether they're, I mean, right now they would be virtual, of course, but really highly encourage you to take advantage of that. Then you get to connect, to be able to network with other, not only other agents throughout the US who are CIPS or other, have done international or foreign investment work, but also you get a chance to meet these people firsthand. So really encourage that. Thanks for the information you gave, Lisa. We really appreciate everything that you do, and NAR, and just really brings a lot of value to not only our association, but to each of the members as well.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, this year our annual conference as of right now, we're moving forward with planning it in person. It will be in November in San Diego, so you guys don't have too far to go this year. And then we do, like Brian says, in a good year, in a non-pandemic, everybody's healthy. We do get about 2,500 international attendees that come to that event. And that, like Brian was saying, is the opportunity to really network and make some amazing connections without having to get a passport if you didn't want one. So that, like I said, it's moving forward in person as of today. You know, don't hold me to that as the world turns, but yeah, November in San Diego. So thank you for saying that. I totally left that out of my talking points, but any of the other information, truly can just, if you go to nar.realtor/global, that's our homepage. Go from there, and that's where any of that information I just talked to can easily be accessed. So again, thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. So our final panelist has a good, she's been a great friend to us. Fanny Chu, who's born in Hong Kong, attended college in Minnesota and New Orleans. She lived in New York and Chicago now for 35 years. A realtor, global agent in San Francisco area, and an NAR designated course instructor in AHWD, CIPS, and more. Fanny is a known leader in real estate industry and also in the Chinese community. She is a Chinese media consultant for CREAA, Chinese Real Estate Association of America, a speaker, a trainer in real estate, Chinese real estate media host and consultant. Highlights of her global real estate include having served as NAR President's liaison to China, AREA founding board member, SFAR and CAR director, and started the Global Business Council for SFAR. Volunteerism is her global real estate, including having served as NAR President liaison to China, AREA founding board member, SFAR and CAR director, and started the global, I'm sorry, I went over that again. Let me get that another shot. Volunteerism is a major part of her life. I can attest to that. She is an active Lion with SF or San Francisco Chinatown Lions Club since 1991. Fanny is a 2020 to 2021 district, that is San Francisco to Palo Alto district governor for Lions Club International, having achieved the highest status as Lions certified instructor for Lions Club International in January 2019. Fanny is committed in her mission to share her knowledge, skills, and the experience in teaching and mentoring leadership. I know that we've tried to get her out here to teach our CIPS classes. She's very enjoyable and very personable, and I know that she's made herself very available to everyone that she meets. Let's welcome Fanny Chu.
Hi, everyone. I didn't mean to subject you to my short bio. The reason I put that in is that it's an example of what you are going to do for yourself as your self-intro. How are you going to show people that you are the go-to person as a global agent? So, all these things, the most important person is you. And then and today we are going to showcase you and how we're going to be the global agent for today. So I talked to Laura a little bit about my slides. I will be sending her again slides without the graphics. The reason is the graphics was purchased and I didn't want to, did anything the copyright of being used and get you and I into trouble. So anyway, but the content definitely will be shared. Okay, so next slide, please. So today, this is the several subject that I'm going to cover. And the red ones are the key points, the key concepts. So these are some of the tips, and I'm sure, and I welcome your chat about sharing your own experience and your point of view into during this process. So because we're learning from each other. So learn new skills, fine tune the systems, your business systems, compile resources. And we have heard today, there are two great resources, right? From Ryan and from Lisa. They're great resources. So from those resources, I'd like you to set up your own customized digital library so that it will make your life easier. And I think we have to get a right attitude and behavior, and also whether we like it or not, we have to adjust to the new norm. Next, please. So about new skills, I think that we all know that the skills are, now this is not only us working as a realtor here locally, but it's also working with your international client. For communication, it's especially important to find out what kind of best tool of communication it is with you and your client across the border. Email is kind of a little bit out now, would you say? You know, locally, I think that I learned it from my kids, you know, so I mean, if I don't text them, I don't hear from them. You know, so texting messages is a very, very important tool. And WeChat, now, depending on the country where you are, I know there has been issues about privacy that had come out with WeChat and WhatsApp and all those things. Please be mindful of that. But at the same time, you know, the line and so on, those are the formats that your client are using. Even us here are different groups are using. And they are very formidable because they're so easy to use. You can attach, you can voice, you know, you can phone with no cost, and then you can attach your document, you can attach pictures, you can attach videos. I mean, so be mindful of the privacy issue, but they are very popular platforms. But that being said, I think just because people are not going the traditional way, then you have to go back to the traditional way of the personal notes and care cards. You know, it will make you stand out. Now, the second part of the skills that we have to is the connectivity, you know, and then we have to really brush up on our skill on the social media, especially with also the connectivity is with the special interest community. Lisa had mentioned and asked us, you know, about the word community, and asked you, are you part of that community? Remember? Yes. And networking. Brian has just reminded us, you know, to network, not just in a, you know, across the border, you know, with different association across the border with, you know, really international. How do we do that? There are Zooming is really make it much easier. We didn't have to spend so much money, and we achieved the same kind of purposes. Next, please. Presentation. Oh, I'm sorry. No, back to the presentation. I think that you have to brush up your skills. Sorry, go back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I saw doggy, so. Yes, thank you. Presentation, in you have to brush up your PowerPoint, your Instagram, because pictures, everything. Use infographics. I always like infographics. And also the teleconferencing skill like Zoom. Training. Now, I don't have to say anything about this because Lisa already talked to us extensively about the NAR Global tools and so on and so forth. So make sure that that is part of, that is the number one item you put onto your digital library. Next, please. So systems, as you know, I think I didn't have to go into details of that. As a practitioner, we have to have all these systems, right? So the contact management, prospecting, listing presentation, the transaction process, building wealth. And then so, but based on all those things, now you have to fine tune it to add on to the international global layer onto it. So whatever system that you have a pairing system for your international clients, because then you will know that the people involved, your additional information, like Ryan was talking about, the tax issues. And so during the transition process, the FERPTER and all those things, that is, you have to be in that system. And the people that are involved, do you need to set up another team with language and cultural sensitivity there? All those things. So I'm just asking you, are your systems updated regularly and consistently? And are you using the most recent data relevant to the most current issues? So we have to do, I used to say spring cleaning is once a year. I now, recently I really find that it's not once a year. It's continuously. So therefore, if you have a digital library customized, you can very quickly have those live links there and quickly in a very efficient short time to update your presentation using the most updated data there. Does that make a difference when you are out there making a presentation and you are using the most relevant and the most current issues? That is what it is. Because referring to the hard copies, we know that before the ink is dry, those information are already outdated. So live links of resources are critical for you to do last minute, very quick updates. Next, please. So compiling resources. So these are just, I organized it so these are just some of the things into resources. Like a library, you imagine when you walk into the library, there are different classifications, categorizations. So you have a chance to customize your own digital library into files. The aisles in the library are actually your files. You how you name your files, and then you can group them together. The main thing is you test it out, make sure that this is customized, and make sure that it works for you. How often that we have all those great articles and great things and we save them all, but if you don't categorize them, I guarantee you, you will spend so much time trying to look for it and you can't find it. Okay, so keywords and things like that are important to help you locate things too. So data is of course, for your, you have the monthly trend, market trend, which is a monthly from your association, from your company. You have that, and you use that as a tool for keeping in touch with your clients too, right? So now we can use the email, we can use other digital format to keep in touch. These are the pumpkins of today, right? They are, so that these are your items of value, in Brian Buffini's words, that you keep in touch with your client. And these are the ones that make them aware with the consistency and the updates, to know that you are on top of things and you are the go-to global person. So economic forecast, we have the CR, the states, the national, globals, and they are so always at all those meetings afterwards, they have the presentation from the economist that you will select. You download the whole entire video, is no good to you, believe me, and you won't spend time to review all those. What you needed to do is to, just get one or two, the most significant slides, updated slides for your use in your various needs of presentations. So your global real estate snapshots and world news and so on and so forth. And these are just, I learned something from Lisa today about the 2020 Global Alliance Survey that I'm not aware of. So I learned a few things too. So special interest also is, for example, if you are in the special interest of retirement, then you will look up resources and set up your data that way. Now, rent control is a very, very important things issue, and it not only affect our daily regular practitioner, it also affects our global clients too. So, and then I'm very much aware of that because coming from San Francisco area, we are suffering from that. And believe me, it's coming to your area, so please be on top of it. Okay, and the government, local government regulations affecting real estate. And also the SIP regulations relating to real estate. Now SIP, I forgot what it is. So I just have a blank moment of that. But ask me later on. Okay, so people resources. People resources, you have all the global ambassadors for our global clients, our regional coordinators. Wouldn't you say that you need to add Ryan and add Lisa onto your list now, right? So and also you have your and then also from Lisa's mention about the 2020 survey, we have the global partners in worldwide, and so that would be your source to look up where your niche market is, and then put those select out those people and put them as your people resource. So the global real estate affiliate professionals and crossing border, your global real estate team. And for example, we know that the team of taxation, we heard Ryan today about, and he addressed both. He addressed the local, and more importantly, he addressed and make the comparison, which is so great, about the international client also. And we all know that immigration is also part of it, and then also the cultural perspective. As you know, recently, since this year, the issue of fair housing has been pushed to the very, very forefront. And how does that tie in with global? Because of the cultural, because of the differences, so, and because working with, especially working with our international client, they have no idea about fair housing. That is a new concept to them. And so, but does it impact them? Yes. Because when they are involved in real estate transactions in the United States, they are part of this fair housing awareness team. So, and you as the agent is charged to be the educator person to be on there. So be mindful of that. So for the organizations, so we have all different kind of organization there. You have the NAR cooperation with local GBC. So Lisa also mentioned that there's 130 global business council now in the states, in 28 states, I believe. So that means there are room for more. But I know for us, most of our attendees are from California right now, I believe, so. But if in the future someone else from other area watches this and you do not have a global business council in your area, I really challenge you to take on the responsibility and be the person to start one up. And then we're all in one global family. You won't regret it. Okay, so, and also then we have the other associations such as FIAPSI, ARIA, sorry about all those acronyms, but acronym make our life easier. We don't have to spend an hour trying to explain what it is. And if you don't know what they are, it's time to find out. Okay, so I am affiliated with Chinese Real Estate Association, but in your area, there is a counterpart of that in the Southern California area. So, but I really wanted you to do that. Now, nowadays, since let's look at the advantages of what pandemic had taught us and gave us is to embrace teleconferencing. So because of that, how many of you really have the opportunity or didn't think about it, but actually you were out there, there are diamonds in your field. How many of you have attended other associations, business global councils events, global events? I mean, and we're talking about global today. So global, yeah, I see Brian's hands up, right? And then also, not only that, you know, NAR coming up is going to be, no, not coming up, last year, end of last year was virtual, was it virtual? Yeah, and so there are other, ARIA had a lot of events that was virtual. There's a lot of the other associations events, global events that are virtual. So find your niche country, pair it up, and try to do that. Because by attending, you not only learn things educationally, you also are able to use that opportunity to network. You know, just like Brian got it, you know, right? Brian said that networking via Zoom, you know. So, okay, so next slide, please.
Sorry.
Okay, now this one, again, you see that you notice that this, I'm just putting this one on just to highlight what Lisa had always mentioned. And then if you look through Lisa's slides, you notice that a lot of times in whatever her presentation is, at the very end, there is that link there. So that's what I think. The links is the one that will pairing up with the title, the topic title, is how you're going to put into your your own customized digital library to organize it so that you can find it. And then this one, frankly, I would even go as far, I think it would make sense for you just to bookmark it and make it available on your smartphone right there so that you can, it's easy access to you with one tap. Next slide, please. Okay, there we go. I keep saying your digital library. Let me ask, how many of you, just put in the chat, I can't see it now, but I think it would be good to share. How many of you do have that, you know, your own digital library in some format? Well, maybe it's not as you know, specific as I'm asking you to do, but believe me, make it happen. Make it happen, and that it will be so, you will find that it's such a, that's the best resource, best tool for you. It not only it helps you to get easy and quick references. You need to do a constant, consistent, and frequent updates, and efficient, and it is a very efficient marketing resource tool for you too. So you can actually, you will try it. It's actually minutes notice. You can come up with a very customized professional listing presentations. And it's also within reach of your business system management. The beauty of that now with all our digital tools, it is 24/7 availability to you, right? And it's also not only time-wise, it's 24/7, it's also anywhere, anytime, globally. So what else is there? What else did I say on there? I didn't see the end part of it. So, oh, okay. Your global agent toolkit. This is your own, your very own global agent toolkit. Next slide, please. Now, this is what I added new. I just did my homework up to the latest because I think there are, we all know, you know, it's been a year and things are changing every minute. And anyway, you know, but for working as a global agent, these are some of the things and some of the resources I did for you. And please also customize it and find out more things. Share with us if you find more things on there. Is that it is important, like the latest COVID-related travel updates. For example, is it important for us to always know and can check up to date? Very important. Okay, the border open timelines and their regulations. So that is the hyperlink there. Okay, so that I give you, and then you can look into that. They are, and I pulled those articles out. They are very good. The one that is there, it is updated all the time. So they update for you, see? So, and also it will tell you the which country. They really list all the country with their hyperlinks, with open and cross borders and lockdown measures that is in place. So I would say I find that this is a very, very good site. And also at the last page there, they also have what should I do if I'm traveling overseas soon? And so there's a hyperlink and there's a list of things for you to check and plan ahead. So the next one is COVID passport, and I'll talk about it at the next page. Then the quarantine regulations, that is important, right? It's not only whether they're open or not. What is each country's quarantine measures? So I gave you two sites. One is the CDC one. Okay, so, and then that will tell you, especially related to the US, if you have foreigners coming into, maybe that is a good resource for you to provide them. And then also the next one is also like, some of the quarantine rules. So I find that this is very, very good information. The third one is the airline regulations. And then, that is going to change every day. The one I found was that, the Qantas airline has regulations, but we know that they have any airport regulations. That is, as we know, is updated every minute. So it's important for us to have a resource there to find out for the last minute. Now, vaccination updates. I got my first shot March 3rd, and I have a second with the Pfizer vaccination, and I have my second shot scheduled. But I know that it may be coming soon for everyone, age under 65 to get it. So I think it is very important to do it. Now, the site that I gave you is Vaccine Finder. That is not a CDC site. Okay, so the official one would be from the CDC site. But this one is interesting because I looked at it, and then it's by zip code all across the United States, where you can get shots, the location of it by zip code. The only thing I would just caution all of you, there's so many news out there, right? And then we have to kind of be very mindful about real news or fake news, right? Real links or not real links. So this one is not an official link. So therefore, I caution you about your personal information. Anytime if they ask you about your social security number, anything about money, asking you for money, we had this happen for vaccination shots in other places, in other countries, where they say, I will move you up. I can give you the shot. And they, people can see that then, but no, a lot of people did not catch it, based on their own need. They didn't catch it. So I'm just saying that those are your alerts, that if ever they ask you a lot of personal information, please delete the site. And if you let me know any of these are, then I will quickly delete from my site too. Okay, so we need all of us to help each other out to be on the lookout. So the end part question is that, is it safe to travel? The safe to travel, when I last looked it up from CDC, the CDC's standpoint right now is still urging everyone that's vaccinated or not to avoid non-essential travel. Non-essential travel. And I believe that is not only about international crossing the border travel, but even locally too. So that is just the latest up to today when we are speaking. So it's very time sensitive. So I'd like you to be aware of that. The next slide, please. So I pulled out some of the picture because picture will help you remember. The first one, you notice that top, that's the airport that looks like now still. Okay, so, and you see people, you know, the workers in all protected gears, you know, so the mask and everything. So that, I guess, is a time shot of our travel, international, our travel today still. So the next one, that is what you have to look out for, because a lot of places are starting to have the COVID immunity passport. So going back the next following pictures, you will see they are coming from I forgot where it is from, Denmark, I think, Danish. And then this one is familiar because that's what we get in the US when I went for my vaccination shot. This is what they marked down for our record. And this is Israeli, that they put it on their phone. Okay, and this is something also from Singapore. So they put it on the phone, a smartphone, you know, so that can be a tool when you are going in and out of airport. That's easier when you have that. And sometimes they put it on there. Now, the most recent G7. So these are the flag of the G7 plus the UN flag. And then the crossover here is the countries. They are all in very, very active discussion about what we talked about, is the passport. You know, what kind of documentation can you show? And so now you know, since you know, there's so many, so each one is different. And to give you a general answer, then each one you have to do your homework at the very latest also to find out where you're going or where your people coming from, your client coming from. How does all this thing, what is the latest information and where do you get those? Okay, so a lot of them is on your smartphone and by QR code scanning and so on and so forth. So that just show you some of the latest thing that I found that is relevant to us as a global agent. Next slide, please. Okay, so the right attitude and behavior, I think we have to embrace change. We have to embrace technology. We take a positive attitude. You know, we take the good things, you know, what we learn from the good things, and forget about the whatever didn't work. Whatever didn't work or is restrictive to us gave us the opportunity, is challenging us to be more creative. I think you have to keep that kind of attitude, because how you feel, it portrays out in your behavior, and then your clients will see that too. Yes, and also remember, you are a trusted advisor, consultant, and then you need to monitor your business and action plans. This was when I first started. Oh, okay. This was when I first started, was to think globally and sell locally. And I still believe that should be the mindset of a global agent. You're listing. Yeah, your inventory. When you have that, the world come to you. And remember, our attitude and behavior always have to be consistent, persistent, and disciplined. Next, please. Next slide, please. Adjust to the new norm. I think there are some things that is going to be with us always. We will never be back to whatever it was before, you know, so just embrace whatever is new and move on. So we notice that all these other things that it's just a reminder again, and it's just kind of a recap, you know, of being aware of international travels, you know, and establishing international relationship via Zoom. You can attend a lot of the local, national, international events. And then also you know that being that has already impacted us, right? In how client want the layout of their home to have a workstation in their work, and how that we know that they are starting to move out, to further away. They do not need to live very close to work anymore. So those things, I believe, they are here to stay. Next, please. So I wish you success for all. Be the go-to global specialist, stand above the crowd, practice these tips, and then you will thrive in today's turbulent times. Thank you.
Thank you, Fanny. Laura, I think I posted one question there. I don't know if, I guess I'll just ask her. And if you could look for other questions from our audience here, that'd be great. Fanny, one of the questions I had was, our foreign buyers that are either coming or who are already here, in terms of the COVID vaccine and so forth, are they having the same, are they able to easily schedule for those vaccines, or are you finding that your clients are also having to wait because maybe US residents are having preferential or giving first opportunity?
Yes. Now, one interesting is I haven't been, maybe I should directly reach out to CDC, is what happened to those that are non-citizens. I believe US are not so much looking to vaccinate or not vaccinate restrictions by where they are coming from. That I don't think that they're asking the immigration status, but they are more concerned about your job. If you're frontline workers, there's certain work categories that you have priorities regardless of age. And otherwise, it will be everybody will stand in line by age, not 65. Soon this week, especially shot, Johnson & Johnson one shot. I believe that we are looking at the coming months to have much more people, being vaccinated. Now, that being said, when I looked at other places, interestingly, for example, in China, people who are over age 60, I believe, cannot be lined up for vaccination. So that's a very drastic difference between the countries. People who are diabetic, high blood pressure, they are very quite exclusive. I don't know why, but that is that. And also, like Hong Kong is just getting their shots right now. And then, and also this come to mind also the quarantine issue, and then when you travel here, travel there, then quarantine means they restrict you. They put you in a hotel or put you in a center, and a quarantine center for a specific number of days, depending on which country and where you're coming from also. And, a whole lot of regulations that is so specific, you need to go to the specific lines. So and then I was shown the pictures of the meals that they have, so those are very interesting things. But it just highlight that, yes, the world is still in turmoil, kind of. And I think that one thing that is scary to me is that as we put too much faith in the vaccination shots and started to be casual about it, and that would be not good. I think that the new norm for us is always to, I know that people, because of privacy issue, have their own opinion about the mask. Okay, but I just urge everyone, for all of us who, and our relatives and so on, to take the health issue, ahead, without make it. It's like fair housing. Make it, with no, don't colorblind it. Health is health, right? Health has no border. It's everybody, it's individual. So just make sure yourself. We are in contact with our clients. let's take responsibility of us for our own health and how we relate to other people too. So.
Yeah, appreciate that. Was there any other questions there, Laura?
No, we don't have any other questions.
Okay. Wanted to revert back to your slide on compiling resources. You, just in case it jogs your memory and for our audience, under special interest or under the data thing, it talked about, that's okay, I'm going to read it for you. You said to be knowledgeable about the local government legislation impacting real estate and specifically SIP regulations. You couldn't remember what that was.
Yes.
I just did a lookup in systematic. Is it systematic investment plans, or is that talking about the SIP form specifically for them, which I know that we could.
Yes, I believe what I was referring to is maybe local, is you're showing instructions, and during COVID and so on and so forth. I believe that's what I'm referring to, so
Okay.
I seriously, that just it is so specific that I apologize. Yes.
No, that's quite all right. I think it's just whatever we, I thought if we could jog the memory, and certainly everything that you share is just so crucial to what our members, our viewers need to know in order to make the right preparations.
Mhm.
So yeah, thank you very much for that. All right, very good. So just wanted to thank all of our presenters, first of all, and all of you, the attendees for today's event. The Global Business Council is hard at work on our next event, which will be scheduled in September. So we definitely want to invite you to that. We'll get the word out and so forth. Just want to kind of recap what we've had here. First of all, thanks Ryan for all of your expertise and your knowledge. Want to encourage again for everybody, reach out to him should you have any questions, especially about taxation. As he said, get an attorney involved as well, and specifically get knowledgeable. We want to become as knowledgeable as we can and set these things up in advance prior to our next transactions, and of course working with our next clients, going above and beyond so that we can really help them, not just for the transaction but moving forward. Lisa, thank you for your information as well, and just want to encourage everybody to go to the NAR website so that they can get all that information. And of course, Fanny, for all of your, not only the long relationship we've had with you, and it's been a joy, but appreciate everything you bring to us. And if any of you have the opportunity to get involved in any of our classes, or if you just meet her in any of the events and you have the opportunity to speak with her one-on-one, highly encourage it. As well as any upcoming, I think the event was shared by Lisa that's coming up later in the year. So try and be a part of that. I also wanted to, this is not on our schedule, but I wanted to bring it to your attention because Fanny made it. I've been a part of, we've been getting together. There's just a select number of us that have been talking with other association leads in their global, and we've kind of formed a big global, if you will, to see about different events that we could do. And we're kind of inviting each other to each other's events. There's one coming up on March 25th at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard. This is sponsored by South Bay Association, and specifically the topic is Prop 19 and the impact of global real estate. So I think that would be great if you want to know a little bit more about that and see how you can register. Then please do, I would say put something in the chat or possibly email Laura or myself, and we can go ahead and get that information to you so you can register. But I think that's going to be another gem to go ahead and take with you. But again, thank you everybody for your attending. I hope that this has been really rewarding. I know that I've gotten some gold nuggets from it, and I hope this helps you to be even more successful out there as you go into 2021 for your global business. So thank you again. Hope you have a great day. Stay safe, and we'll look forward to our next gathering. So our next event. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.